Okay, so welcome to your second 12th grade success session or second year. There's some students that are unaffiliated with one of the high schools that are just kind of in the middle. So you're not in your first year or last year. This is a good plan. We're going to talk today about planning for registration, but also planning for your final year. So you may not be quite there, but this is good stuff to start thinking and talking about with your family and to start planning for. So my name is Tracy Weimer. I'm one of the student advisors, actually officially the college and career advisor, but as hopefully you know by now, all of us can kind of help with anything. And this is kind of my baby, the college stuff, and planning for the future is like my favorite stuff to talk about with students. But we can kind of all help you with whatever you need. So as always, ask if you need help. I'll say that probably 20,000 times tonight. If any of you remember Mr. Spencer from when you were joining, some of these are still leftover PowerPoints that he made, and he loves animals and gifts and stuff like that. So it's cute. Taking control of your plans, that's kind of where you're at this point. I'll give some news and updates. Again, we're going to talk about planning for registration. I probably won't really show you how to register, but I will point out where there are some videos for that. And a lot of these things, I'll point you to the resources that we have, but again, you can make an appointment and come in and meet with any of us if you have questions. And then the big thing that you're kind of starting to think about, and probably you're getting a little bit of this at your high schools right now, or they were talking about it last year, and your classmates are applying and doing all these exciting things that I know this year is kind of tough watching people do that and knowing that you're going to stay for another year. And it is okay. I stayed at SE4 for a year. Many people do. You will feel like a regular college student at SE4. You're not going to keep feeling like a high school student. And next year is when you're going to do all this exciting stuff. But you can start the research and kind of start preparing for those things now. So we'll talk about doing that research, how to decide where you apply, how to increase your credit transfer success, and kind of how to start researching that. And then how to get started with college applications. That's something that you could work on this summer when you have a little bit more free time, maybe. So the first thing is that we are wrapping up this semester. So it's a little early. We're still a little over a month out before this would happen, but and we are in week 10 of the semester. So you really just have about 6 weeks and then finals. So we won't see you again though, or have one of these meetings. So we'll be accepting books anytime after April 25th, which is the week before finals. It's the last regular week of class. So if you are a lucky person that all of your classes are just like a paper or a project and you don't, or maybe they just give a test that week, you can drop them off early. Don't return them if you still need them to study for finals. So if you have finals on the regular finals week, which is the week of May 2nd to basically the 5th, that Thursday, just wait and bring them in after your last final. I think that's a great closure to the semester. Finish that last final. Because you're borrowing your books, it's not like you can throw them away or have that cathartic, like burning them or something like that. So you can drop them off, say goodbye to us for the summer, and then be on your way kind of, and just basically have to finish up high school for the rest of the year. There is a late fee if you return it late. So it would be a $25 fee. Sometimes that can get more expensive. Mrs. Lawson will start bugging you if you're late. And if it's really late and we end up having to buy a book that we were renting because you still have it, then sometimes that can get even more expensive. So the best thing is just to return them on time so that we don't have to bother you in your first couple weeks of summer. So academic warning, this is something where hopefully you've escaped this in you're in your fourth semester of college. So there are people that have kind of experienced this consequence where if your GPA dips below a 2.0, SE4, and really this is a policy at any college you would go to, they put you on academic warning for a semester. If you don't get your GPA up, then you could be suspended the following semester. So this semester is super important to do well in, because if you were put on academic warning in the fall, the next semester would be winter. So if you ended up getting suspended, you would be suspended for your last semester with the middle college, and you would end up just missing out on a whole semester of free credit. So really, really work hard. Every little point counts in your classes because even a tenth of a GPA point can count. I have had a student get put on suspension actually because he had a 1.99 and it was pretty upsetting, but it wasn't the 2 point, right? So it has to be that 2.0 or higher. Also, time to start thinking about going into your final year. A big thing is that we've kind of told you, hold off on the AccuPlacer. Don't worry about the AccuPlacer. If you really want to take English and math, some of you have already done that, have already taken it. You may have placed into the class that you wanted with your SAT scores. If you are still unsure, I'm going to show you how to check that. And then or you can contact me and I can let you know where you're placed. But if you know for sure you haven't taken the AccuPlacer, it's time to do it because you will have to do your English and math next year to finish up your degree. The AccuPlacer, there's a math portion and an English portion. So you may not need to take both if you've already taken one class or the other, or maybe your SAT score was good in English, but not in math or something like that. So you can just take one piece. And I'll send kind of some information about that. But if you have any questions, let me know. So this is basically what I just said. So I will show you, actually, why not? We'll just do it right now. So I'm going to pop over to, I've got a bunch of stuff logged in here. I can sign in as myself and show you kind of. So when you log into the Service Center, hopefully you're pretty familiar with this. Student planning is where you're going to do all of your registration stuff, but that is actually also where your test scores are located. So when you log in there, you would go up to this academics and go down to test summary. So this is where you can see your placement scores. So you can see way back in 2001, I took College Board math. That was what the test was before the AccuPlacer. So under placement test, if you took the AccuPlacer, that would be listed there. Admissions test would be the SAT. So if you had that sent to SE4, that would be listed here. If you took the SAT and you have no scores here, it just means that you didn't include SE4 as one of the schools to have your scores sent to. And let me know, and we can either send your scores, like you can send us your scores and we send it to them, or you can have them sent from the College Board, or sometimes we may have to get your counselor at your home high school involved, but most of the time we can just send that over for you. So that is where you find that. And then kind of knowing where you place, you would kind of have to check with me and I can show you the grid. I'll show you on another page where that's listed as well. So the other new thing that they've started doing this semester or this year is that you can also use your high school transcript for placement into math classes. So basically, if you got a B or higher in a class, you would then be eligible to take the next class in the progression. So most of you, well, everyone has taken Algebra 2 at this point. And if you got a B or higher, SE4 will let you register for the next step, which would be either Math 113, which is pre-calculus, or Math 120, which is statistics. So that's awesome because those two classes, either one can finish the requirements for either the arts or the science degree and pretty much most other degrees if you wanted to substitute depending on the degree. So if you have questions about your placement, let me know. There's going to be a lot of times where I'm telling you to let me know stuff. You'll have an email from me after this with the video and all of that. So you'll have my contact information, but I'll also maybe add a slide where I give you my email and phone number. So if you have questions, you can do that. Or I can also put it in the chat in a sec. So high school commencement is approaching fast. Basically, I think you have just a couple of months before you're done at your high schools, and hopefully we'll be doing all the prom and graduation and all of that stuff. You do have to have your high school graduation requirements completed this semester in order to walk in commencement at all the high schools. So like the 4 English, 4 math, Mrs. Barr would have bugged you and you would know if you weren't on track to do that. If you know that you're taking something that you need for a high school requirement and it's not going well, talk to one of us, talk to your counselor at the high school. talk to your teacher and really make sure that you get that credit and get passed so that you don't have to scramble and do kind of a backup plan in those couple of weeks so that you can have a fun senior year and finish everything up. But if you don't know or you're not sure, you can always check with Mrs. Barr as well. Okay, so fall registration opens Monday, April 11th, which is just a few weeks away. As always, it opens Monday night at midnight. So it's actually, well, it's Monday at midnight. So it's actually Sunday night at midnight. So hopefully you guys are pretty familiar with that. We're going to just do a quick refresher on these things to consider when you're registering. The number one thing to think about is what courses you need for your degree. Thinking about any prerequisite courses. So like you need English 101 before you can take English 102, that kind of stuff. Looking at courses that will transfer to other schools. A lot of you might have kind of worked through the requirements for your degree where you've already got all of your social science, humanities, all of those like required courses, and now you're left with a lot of room for electives. Finding out what will transfer to other schools is a great way to fill those spaces and make sure that the electives you're taking here are classes that will actually potentially work for your bachelor's degree at a four-year school. And then the dreaded math-related course for high school. So I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail, but that's always a topic that one or two people have not heard of at this point. So the big thing is making sure that you're on track for your degree. I'm going to be doing a review of everyone's degree progress, and I hope to reach out before the semester ends so that if you need to make changes to your schedule, you can, but don't wait for me to do that in order to register for classes. Get a fall schedule registered, and we can always adjust if needed. But you can also meet with one of us over the next few weeks. You can do this review yourself. I will again point you to some videos that kind of coach you through how to plan out your degree. So you can kind of check and see what your progress is towards your requirements. But it's definitely time to make sure you're taking or have taken prerequisites that you'll need for later courses. So again, we have all these tools, and the My Progress tool can be helpful. I always think that if you're doing an arts or a science degree, the best way to check through that is to do one of the worksheets that you have and have used with you in the past. You should be meeting with either or both an SE4 advisor and one of us, because it's really important that you plan out your final year so that you can finish. Every year I have students where we tell them, okay, you're going to need 16 credits both semesters in order to finish your degree on time, and they register, a credit short or something and end up short. And it's really, really frustrating because it's upsetting, obviously, to students, but it's really important that you take in the information that we're giving you and then do the work to really make sure that you register well and stay on track. So I'm going to show you these worksheets over to the side here, are all in this thing. So on our website, which I know I point out every time, I'm going to X out of that. So this is what our website looks like now. We're trying to make it a little bit more user-friendly and have more information here, but the same good stuff is still under current students. So under here, planning for your degree, SE4 registration, scheduling documents and links, these three tabs are really helpful if you don't remember how to do this at all. So this tab really walks you through how to plan for your degree, gives you kind of some things to consider, links you basically to other videos. So video 2 of the registration stuff under SE4 registration is where I really walk through how to use the Service Center for planning and making sure that you have all of your degree requirements on track. So these three videos are great for just kind of getting an overview of the Service Center, remembering how to use it for planning, and then remembering how to actually officially register. And those are pretty accurate. There's been some changes to Service Center, but the idea still works here. So that would be a good refresher if you need help there. But again, you can make an appointment with one of us and we can help you with that as well. The other thing, scheduling documents and links, I actually had already brought up. So this is where all of these worksheets are. So if you know you're doing either the arts or science, this would be, I think, the best way to look at it. you guys came in the 2020 catalog year, but there's really no difference between 19, 20, and 21. So you can't go wrong there. But if you know you're doing the Associate of Science, you can click there and it'll bring up this worksheet that you can print out and kind of write in what you've done so far. There's other stuff too that I've always thought is helpful. The programs list brings you to the list of degrees at SE4. So if you're doing something that's not an arts or science degree, like let's say you're working on criminal justice, that brings you to the information page. And then usually you have to scroll to find the list of classes. So this brings you to that page where you can see exactly every class. And so you could print this out and just kind of check off the things that you've done. Another thing that I wanted to point out while we're here is this AccuPlacer placement guide. So you can look and see what your scores are on the test summary. Again, this won't really match, but you'd have AccuPlacer Math or AccuPlacer AAF or something it would call it. And so the placement guide has the abbreviation. So AAF would mean Advanced Algebra and Functions, and whatever your score was tells you where you placed. So that chart is there. It's a little confusing. I wish that SE4 would just put it in here that you scored a 35, that places you into Math 104 or whatever, but it doesn't. So if you need help navigating that, it's very easy for us to check and let you know. Just shoot one of us an email. Also on this page, which I have lost where I was, the scheduling page, there's an SAT placement guide that's just the same. So you can look at what your scores were for the SAT and it will tell you what you're placed into. And again, if you have questions, just let us know. The rest of these are helpful if you wanted to just kind of click through them. The MTA requirements I'll touch on in a second, but there's a worksheet for that as well. So sometimes, basically, if you complete the Associate of Science or Associate of Arts, those requirements are also completing the Michigan Transfer Agreement. But if you're doing, sometimes if you're doing like criminal justice or business transfer, things that have a lot of room for electives, I do encourage you to try to also do the Michigan Transfer Agreement requirements. So if you have questions about that, let me know. But if you know you're working on both, you can have both worksheets to print out there. So that's a helpful page with a ton of stuff there. That's just pointing that out, which we just did. The program of study is helpful to kind of map out what you need. So that would be, I don't think I touched on that. Is that this thing? Yes. So this thing, I love this page. So you can write in everything you've done so far. This is helpful to tally up how many credits you have. So it just has the credits per semester, but usually I would write like you got 3 credits here, so you have a total of 3. And then you got another 6, so you have a total of 9. So I would total them up below there so you can see how many credits you have at the end of this year if you pass everything you're taking. Ideally, you want to leave yourself with less than 34 credits remaining for your final year because we can only pay for 17 credits each of those semesters. So if you are working on an arts or science degree where you just need 60 credits, you need to make sure that you have at least 26 credits complete at the end of this year. If you're working on some of the applied degrees require 62, some are even 63 or 64, then obviously that adjusts that. So you would need to have 28, 29, 30 credits done in order to be able to finish everything with your 34 credit option in your final year. 17 credits is a pretty full load though. So hopefully you've gotten a little further than that, but it's a good option for like, you can take the 17 credits if you're a little bit behind and you're just at the 26 to 30 or whatever. So all those worksheets are great and all listed there. There is a Word version, so you could actually just download it and type in the stuff that you want to, that you've taken. That's handy too. And again, all of this stuff we can help you with too. Okay, so that's something I'll show you in a second. So awesome stuff. Plan out both of your final 2 semesters at this point. Like you have that little bit left, and it's good to kind of know I need to take I kind of touched on this. I need English 101 before I can take 102, or I'm doing a business degree and I need accounting 211 before I can take 212. So all of these are things that if you haven't already been thinking about this, it's definitely time. And then this just kind of shows you how that maps out. And I have a nicer version that I need to add to the website that has the total credits on it and kind of an example to follow. The other big thing is checking on what will transfer. So I do have students every year, again, come in their 13th year, going into the final semester, and want to talk about what will transfer. And that's great. Maybe we can figure something out for winter semester that you could check off. But oftentimes there's a ton of stuff outside of just the associate degree at SE4 or the MTA that you can take that will transfer on. A great example is people that are thinking of a medical career, pre-med, pre-physical therapy, pre-occupational therapy. Most of the time they want you to have taken a progression of 4 chemistry classes. So 111, 112, 215, 216. So you may already be a little bit behind if you hadn't looked into that already, but there's still a lot of time to get a lot done in the 13th year. So definitely ask if you have questions, and I'll kind of show you a little bit how to check that. So obviously, knowing what will transfer, you need to know what you want to do for a career, what level of education you need, what bachelor's degree you want to get, and then what colleges or universities you might want to attend. So most of the time when people ask about, I want to talk about planning for my final year, I would ask, where do you want to go and what do you want to major in? Because that's where we can really look that up out on the internet. This is great. I'll give you a little tutorial on how to do this research yourself, but this stuff is so important that I would really, really recommend that you meet with either one of us in the office or an SE4 advisor to, if you do the research, we can double check it, or we could just do that stuff from scratch together. But it's really important that you are taking the right stuff, because there's usually a ton of stuff you can take and it will just save you time and money. So I'll show you a little bit of how I start research. So if somebody were to come in and tell me, I'll use one of these tabs if it's open, that they want to go to Oakland and major in psychology, what I would start with is Oakland Transfer Guide. And it's going to bring up some options. Usually that's the best one. You just type college transfer guide. A lot of the schools, I'm cheating a little bit. Oakland has great ones out there. But a lot of the schools in Michigan do have transfer guides right on their website. So you can read through this, but basically you're going to choose the college you go to now, which we have a double scroll here. So you go to St. Clair County Community College. You kind of have to know what college it's under for Oakland. But I happen to know it's psychology is under the arts and sciences. So we can scroll down here and click, and it will bring up a PDF with everything that you can take at SE4 that will transfer to Oakland for a bachelor's in psychology. So the goal of a middle college, SE4, community colleges is meant to kind of just check off some general stuff, but these are where you can really kind of get some extra things done. So on Oakland's, they list the things that you can take that will transfer for your major. So psychology is obviously a lot of psychology. So Psych 180. Some of these will list classes that don't exist anymore or that aren't offered very often at SE4. But for this, 220, 230, 260, and 280 are all classes that SE4 offers. And then a lot of them repeat here that you can take one extra one for an elective. Math 110 or 112 is great to know that you can get that done. And if you were to take 113 or 120 or something higher than that, that's totally fine. That would complete that. Anytime you take something higher, it usually works for what you need it to. Down below, they talk about transferring with the MTA done or transferring without the MTA. So if you do one of the arts or science and complete the MTA, you can basically not even really think about this. You're just going to check that off. That's going to be done. So really up top, these are the classes that you want to make sure that you're taking with your extra space, your electives, the space that you have in your 13th year. So that's a good example. For Oakland is a nice one. Like I said, sometimes I'll show you a tricky one. And so my alma mater, Michigan State, their website is a mess. It's very hard to navigate, which disappoints me. So sometimes you can look here and if we would have searched MSU transfer guides, nothing really comes up. It brings us to the transfer page, and let's just do that. The only thing that they really have set up for transfer guides, so if we scroll down here, and actually there was another page there, wasn't there? Maybe, what if they just all of a sudden have them right now? That'd be awesome. Transfer guides. So basically, oh, okay, here we go. This could be exciting. We find St. Clair County Community College and search. Okay, I don't know why that's frozen or isn't working. Okay, here's what it does. It brings up every single class and how it transfers. So this is, sure, that's useful, but you have to know what's required for the degree, right? So this is where MSU takes some puzzle piecing, and this is where it would take a little bit of help from one of us. So from the main page, what you can do is go to academics, colleges and programs, and you can search through the list of everything that's offered. If you click on majors, so again, using the psychology degree, if I go to P, there's a whole bunch of stuff, right? Psychology is on here. Of course, why do I have to pick one that's at the end of the alphabet? So here's where you're looking at, okay, that's a master's, that's a doctoral. We're not quite there yet. You're looking basically your next step after SC4 is to do a bachelor's degree. So either a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science. You can click here and it's going to bring you to the information page. Then you can find where it says the courses and it will bring you to the course catalog. So as you can see, it's not quite as easy as the schools that have the transfer guides just made for you. But when you see this list of classes, we can actually do a little bit extra research and find out things that transfer. So like right off the bat, Psychology 101 at SC or at MSU is Psych 180 at SC4. So it's each school kind of has their own thing. So as you can see, it depends on the school. Some things you might be able to easily find just by Googling Wayne State transfer guide. Get to that page, find your major, and you're good. For the ones that are a little trickier, this is where I would definitely say reach out to one of us. And we can do some of this research even before you and I meet, where it's basically just laid out for you. And we can do this for multiple schools at a time. So let us know if you have questions about that. I also would recommend always when I do that research, I'll give you all the stuff. And I would say, let's double check our plan with an SC4 advisor to make sure it's going to complete your associate degree. And then they may have some good transfer information where they can really confirm that for us. But the best way to know what's going to transfer to the four-year school is to even reach out to advisors at the four-year school. So that's something I really recommend. And that's another thing that we can help with just to kind of help you figure out how to find your advisor. That's another thing that sometimes is hidden on the website, sometimes is very obvious. The biggest thing, the first and foremost, is to meet the MTA requirements. So that would be that worksheet that I showed you already. I don't even know if it's still up, but basically these categories, the arts, humanities, and all that. Get rid of some of this so I can find the things I need. Okay, so MTA, that's the general basic to start with. So if you have gotten totally off track, you could finish that pretty much this year if you wanted to. The scheduling docs and links I did show you already, but you know what, while we're here, just to kind of point out how easy it is, you can go there, scroll down, click on the Michigan Transfer Agreement requirements. So do it, check them out, but then also ask for help. Final year high school math requirements. So this is a big one. that hopefully you remember that we have talked about this almost every time we've had one of these success sessions. We talked about it in orientation. We talked about it in your very first meeting that you had with one of us and your parents. So the state requires every high school student in Michigan to take the 4 credits of math, but then there's this extra little wording in the law that says, and a math related experience in their final year of high school. So back at your home high school, they refer to it as senior math, and they might have forced you to take math this year if you maybe finished your 4th credit last year. That's okay. I used to be a math teacher, and I always think keep going with math, because once you stop, it's hard to refresh your memory and pick it back up. So yes, you will have finished your 4 credits this year. I know that. Whatever you're taking right now does not count, because your final year is next year. It's your 13th year. So I know it's annoying. I know it's confusing. Hopefully you have saved your SE4 math requirement for your final year, your 13th year, which is what we usually recommend. But if you have not, and you already finished your Math 104 required for your degree, whatever your degree requirement is of math, and you're done with it and you hate math and you don't want to do an extra one, that's totally fine. There's a whole other list of things that can work for it. Lots of the science classes can count for a math related experience. Accounting, if you're in one of the applied degrees, like an engineering degree, a lot of the electronics classes work for that. There is a class called Business 199, BUS 199, which is personal finance. And that is actually like a great real world math that could be 3 credits that would just transfer as general credits, and would hit both things. So if you have questions, let me know. As people start to register, this is another thing that I'll reach out about when I'm reaching out over your progress for your degree. And I'll say, hey, I see you're registered for Accounting 211 for the fall. As soon as you pass that, that checks off your requirement for your final year of math. So I'll check in, but if you have questions before registration, let me know and I can give you the list of classes. The final thing, so know your prerequisites, get your total credits. If you ever did take an English 75 or Math 75 or something like that, that does not count for credit, but I don't think anybody even really has. I haven't seen those in quite a while. Be careful with online courses. I know at this point you guys are old pros and you either love them or hate them, it seems. Most people do. And a lot of people did find that they love them and it's great, but doing everything online is just, it's hard to stay on top of stuff and stay focused and motivated. Personally, I'm not great with it because I need to be reminded of stuff too much. Another big thing we see in the 13th year is knowing I have all day. I can take classes in the morning and you're working a lot. So people will stack everything on Monday and Wednesday so that you have 5 classes that you're here at SE4 from 8 in the morning to 6 at night. And you think, oh, that's fine. That's, it's a long day, but then I'm off Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and the whole weekend. That's wonderful. But a lot of times when you're doing that, you're stacking a lot of work or too many responsibilities on those other days. And keep in mind, when are you going to do the homework? And also keep in mind, those are really, really long days. So I get the temptation. I've done it myself. But it's just, it is a lot. So I would be very careful with that and think that through. And then the hours that you're getting at work is wonderful. I know probably a lot of people are at a job where they're desperate to have you there as much as possible. Just please try to be firm with your bosses and tell them, I really wish I could help, but I'm still a student and I might just be a full-time college student next year, but that's important and I need to make it to class. I need to build in time for studying and all that. So just word to the wise, just be careful with it. But I do know that these are the temptations that are really, really common in your 13th year. Registration review. So again, it opens Sunday night, April 11th. So April 11th is the Monday, but it's the Sunday night at midnight. I know I've probably said in the past, but being in there right at midnight sometimes backfires on people where it seems to overload the system because so many people are doing that. If you really have something that you're very worried that there's only one section and you really need to make sure you get in it, it might be worth doing that, but it might even be worth going in at 12:30. Let those people have the rush and then go in there and scoop the last couple seats. Monday morning's probably totally fine. A lot of the higher level classes that you're going into in your 13th year don't fill up as much as the other ones. So you probably would be fine to do it Monday morning. But every year I expect something will fill up overnight. And so far it's been very, very few things that have. The classes will be viewable with the times and sections and teachers and all of that the Monday before, April 4th, and possibly even earlier, but it has to be viewable by the April 4th. So that's, you can know that the week of April 4th is when you can kind of set up your plan, use the service center, get your stuff on your plan, have it all ready to register so that you can just hit register all Sunday night at midnight or 3 a.m. or whatever you're doing it and be done with it. Don't let some indecision on one class stop you from registering your whole semester. Register for what you know you need to take, or register for a schedule. And if you can't get in to see somebody, or you just aren't really sure what you want to do, you can always change it later, but at least you have a backup plan if you get just an initial schedule registered. But you can change it as the weeks go through the summer. So again, don't not register over one little thing. Get some stuff registered and you can always add a class later if needed. I think I'll do a very, very quick review of the service center and how to check on what you've earned and what you have left in your required classes. I did show you the test summary. So let's pop over there right now. So you know what? I may not be able to do this under mine. Let me see if I can log in as Mrs. Barr. For some reason, even though we both went to SE4, she can still access the scheduling stuff and I cannot. Fingers crossed, darn it. I knew that wasn't gonna work. Oh, darn. Sorry, stand by. Darn it. Okay, well, I can show you some things. Oh, darn. Sorry, really should have checked this. I thought it was working. All right, well, I'll have to log in as myself. Oh, geez. Okay, well, you know what? Okay, it is coming up. So, sorry. So, under the student planning tab is where you would do all of your scheduling and planning. We can go to plan and schedule on mine, and I can show you basically how to add stuff, or like this is the current semester. So this is basically when we refreshed your memory for last semester. So you can see kind of what that looks like on there. But I will not be able to show you the plan your degree option, which is really unfortunate. So let's see if it will. So my progress, because I don't have an active program, I can't add one. So I will have to direct you. I'm really sorry. I was going to be able to show you just a very quick review of this, but under the SE4 registration is where you would want to do that. So clicking on here brings you to each of those videos, which I won't play you and bore you with a video in a video. But that's where you can really look at, you can see right there that I can pull it up and show you how to actually use that to see what you have left and then to see what you've accomplished. One thing I can show you in here is the transcript. So the transcript's a helpful thing to be able to see kind of where you stand, mainly just with your credits. That's the big thing. So I'll show you my unofficial transcript. So whenever somebody is asking for your transcript, you can always look here. This is where you can find what your student ID is. And you can see exactly how many credits you have and what you've attempted. So your student ID is up here in the upper right-hand corner, your birth date, which we'll just scroll right on down from there. And then you can see the embarrassing stuff I did. So Calc 2 and Calc 3, struggled in those. AP stuff. These are the classes I took. So you can see semester by semester what your GPA is, how many credits you have completed, and then it brings you to, it gives you your total. So you can see here that like how many are completed. This is the main thing that you want to look at. So 48. So if I were doing the Associate of Arts, I still need 12 credits, right? So that's where you can see the full number of credits that you have completed, and you can see your classes and your grades so that you can then take that and plug it into that other sheet that was like the planning thing. Now I've completely lost where it was. So that's helpful to know your total credits and see what your classes were so that you can see exactly how many credits. Again, something to think about here is that they have to be a C or better in order for them to transfer, and a lot of times for them to count for the degree. So keep an eye on that. That's mainly what I can show you in there. Okay, so this is just kind of showing you a little break. This link, which I will put in the chat, is basically your homework or your work for this semester. And so this is for everyone, even though you're here. I just kind of want, this is going to help you think through what you have done so far and then what you have left. And I'll show you that. So when you go to that tiny URL, it brings up another crazy website. And it's a Google form basically. So read through this. All of our emails are here, so that's great. That's a good place to have that. And then this is the information on how to make an SC4 advising appointment. So you can basically work through this. So obviously you would enter your name and your email. There's a few pages. So that's the first one. This one brings you to kind of some questions about your degree progress. So that's where you can tell me, okay, I'm working on the Associate of Science. And then you scroll down, how many credits are required for your degree? So that you may need to look up. I know that the Associate of Science requires 60. Looking at my transcript just now, I will have 48 credits completed at the end of this year. So when I say 60 minus 48, I have 12 credits left, which would be really great for a 13th year. Most of you will have a lot more than that. I know also for the Associate of Science that it requires me to take Math 113 or 120 or higher. So you would type that out. And I have not taken those, but I did take Math 110 because I'm taking Math 110 now so that I can take Math 120 next year. I have not taken both English 101 and 102. Those are required for almost every degree, but I did English 101 this semester too, so I'll have to finish 102 next year. So you would say whatever it is that you have completed there. This is talking about the course placement that we've already talked about, but it just kind of reminds you how to go and look. So I'm going to make up a score here and say I have a QAS, which is like quantitative analytic systems or something. So dumb. And I got a 200. So when I look down at this chart, I see here's my score that places me into Math 75. So whenever you're placed into 75, 82, anything lower than a 100 level, that tells me I need to fix my placement. I need to either take the AccuPlacer, retake the AccuPlacer if I've already taken it, submit my SAT scores, or potentially use my high school transcript for placement. Writing, basically, if you have a 4 or below, then you will need to redo your placement. A 5 or above will place you into that English 101. that's the first level. You can't actually place higher than English 101. You would have to, do you place into it or not, take English 101, and then you take English 102. So you would fill all that out, hit next. This is where it's going to work you through some college and career plans, which we're going to get into a little bit, but these are great websites for doing that research. This is the time to start thinking about that stuff. Summer is a great time to do it, but actually do it. Don't wait, or don't overload yourself with work or fun stuff and then not get the planning done. It's definitely better to do it earlier than later, if only just so that you can enjoy your 13th year without really having to think about it. So here I'm going to say I want to be an engineer. I don't really know what kind. I know that I need a bachelor's degree. And hopefully, I feel like we've made you do this a few times. So hopefully this stuff is pretty much stuff that you already know. But if you don't, these are the pages that are going to help you figure that out, or one of us can help you figure that out. So I know, actually, I need an engineering bachelor's degree. That's going to be my major. And I'm thinking about going to MSU, Oakland, Ferris, Michigan Tech. You can abbreviate. I just kind of want to see what your thoughts are. And you hit submit and you're done. So that will be very easy. You may be doing that right now. But if not, you can do it when we're done or tomorrow or whatever. The link is in the chat, and then I will also send it in the email with the video. So it's due by Friday, April 8th. But again, you saw how easy that was. You may need to do some research, so it might take you a little bit longer, but it wouldn't take you much more than a half hour if you really had a lot of research to do. So that will get you kind of planned and ready so that you're ready to register on the 11th. Prepping for college applications. So this is the big thing, basically, to start thinking about for next year. I will also be sending you this thing that I finally have made this, a checklist or just kind of a timeline of everything you would need to do for the next year to get ready for transferring to a four-year school. So I know a lot of this, not everybody's planning to go to a four-year school. You may be looking at a trade school, military, an apprenticeship, anything like that is great. Like, that's something to do. Think about. This process could be the same in some ways, and it could be a little bit different in other ways. So if you are thinking about doing something like that, let us know, and we can help you kind of figure out which of these things do you still have to do and which things can you just kind of not worry about. So over this summer, if you can decide what colleges you want to apply to, that's wonderful. Have a couple of safe schools and then a couple of your dream schools. So don't let, I just have been working with a student who applied to MIT and was like disappointed that he didn't get in. But when I Googled it, it's basically 4% of the people that apply get into that school. So, and it's 4% of like the people that are at like 4.0 and above, and still. So that's okay. That was awesome. He had his dream school. He has a couple other that he's waiting to hear from, but he does also have a safe school, which is still for most of us like a pretty high level school, but he will most likely get in there. So you need to have at least one that you know you're going to get into. One or two kind of reach, and then a couple other in the middle. So they recommend, like a lot of the stuff I saw online recommends applying to like 10. I don't know if that's necessary. If you have unlimited application fee money, sure. But most of the time I would narrow it to maybe like 5 or 6. Also something to think about is a lot of the schools will do early decision or early action applications. Those are usually due November 1st. So if anybody knows anybody that's applied to Michigan, a lot of times people are applying early decision. That's something to really know the difference on, but basically early decision means that if they accept you, you are stuck with Michigan. Like, that's the school you're going to. You don't have a choice. Early action would be you're just applying early to get an earlier decision. So that's something to really be careful about and make sure you're reading through that when you are applying. Most of the time, you could even just do a regular application at that time and you'll still hear back early, like by Christmas usually. They say regular admissions applications are due kind of first of the year to March 1st, but there are schools that will accept you in August to get you started in August. So don't wait that long, but don't let these deadlines make you think it's too late, I can't do it. This summer, a great thing to do would be to visit college campuses for as many of the schools that you think you can hit that you're thinking about applying to. A lot of them do have virtual tours. I've never done one. I'm not sure how helpful it is, but they really hype it up. It might be worth trying one. And then if that's like, oh, it just is not the same, getting onto a campus really, really makes the difference. We have had so many students through the years think they were determined that they were going to X, Y, or Z school, and then they went and visited a friend at a different school and completely changed their plans. That's actually very common. So getting onto a campus and just feeling the vibe is a big decision maker for a lot of people. Retaking the SAT and doing some studying ahead of time is another thing to think about for the summer. I'll get into that in a little bit. And then you can start drafting some college application essays. Basically just kind of thinking about what your strengths and weaknesses are. What are your dreams? What's your story? Just kind of getting some brainstorming together is a great start there. In September, we'll have a success session about applications and how you navigate all of that. So if you are lost, know that we'll help you in the fall, but if this is basically over the summer, if you want to get a jump start, great. Start asking people for recommendation letters. Every year, I have people that are applying to early decision for U of M and they need an answer by November, or they need to submit by November 1st. And they ask me like 2 weeks before to write a recommendation letter. A lot of people are doing that. So it's really heavy traffic at that point. So to make sure that you get a good, thoughtful letter that person has put a lot of time into, ask earlier than later. Give people at least 2 weeks notice, if not a couple of months notice. You can start working on your college applications. Any schools that you're applying through Common App, which quite a few are using Common App, you would need to list either me or Mrs. Barr as your counselor. So that's not your high school counselor like at Northern or PH or Yale or wherever. It would be us. Request the recommendation letters at least a month before the deadline. Write and fine tune your essays. You would request transcripts, which all of this later stuff we will go through at the college application success session in the fall. So I'll send you this. You can read through it. I'm not going to go through everything, but basically you would start the FAFSA in October, November. January, February is when you would be doing your scholarship applications. March, April is when you're going to start getting answers from schools and you're going to start getting the financial aid award letter information. That's where they send you a breakdown of everything that you'll receive from financial aid, whether it's scholarships, grants, which is the free money, or loans, what loans you'd be eligible for. That's where you can really decide how much it's going to be or figure out how much it's going to be. And that sometimes is a good decision-making tool for what school you ultimately go to. In April, May, you make your final decision, usually pay a deposit, get your housing booked if you're going to stay in the dorm, all of that stuff. We'll have a final success session. And then May, June, you're going to be wrapping it up with us, hopefully attending SC Fort and middle college graduations, sending your final transcripts to your schools, and going to your college orientation, another one. So I'll send you that, but it's just kind of to lay things out for you so you're not panicked of thinking that you're behind. That's the timeline for stuff. This next step, so visit the school websites, check for tours, visit if you can. I've already touched on that. These are other search tools. They're also listed on that homework Google form on that page, the last page where you're doing that research. Again, we'll have the success session early next year to explain that process. And that handout is what I just kind of went through. So read through that and let us know whatever questions you have. If you want to get started this summer, that's wonderful. One thing to keep in mind, and every year we have people miss this too, you are applying as a freshman because Michigan colleges understand middle colleges and they know that they consider you a freshman as long as you have not taken a college class after high school graduation. So you will not graduate technically until the end of 13th year. That's why you are considered a freshman. The point of that is so that you're eligible for all those freshman merit scholarships. So there seems to be some misinformation going around a couple of the high schools. So spread the word to your classmates or potential incoming students that Michigan schools want you to apply as freshmen, so you are eligible for freshman merit scholarships. That's where it's based on your SAT score and your GPA. Some schools that are test optional right now, like they're not requiring the SAT, it's just based on your GPA. So you can see how important that is to keep that GPA up as high as possible. The high school that you are at, you are a Blue Water Middle College high school student. So you would not put Port Huron Northern or Algonac. You would say Blue Water Middle College. Your transcript will come from us. We have seen students in the past few years kind of forget that and say, I'm a Port Huron Northern student. They send their weighted transcript from Port Huron Northern, which is great. That does look a little bit better. And they think they're going to get this wonderful scholarship. And the reality is the middle college transcript is your accurate transcript. That's the one that's going to have an official graduation date. You will not get a graduation date from Port Huron Northern. So those, like, I don't know if it was a mistake. There was one guy that specifically told me, well, I wanted to send the one with the better GPA. I get it, but that's not accurate and they will always catch you. So it creates a paperwork nightmare for you and the college if you don't just do what's accurate and correct, which is Blue Water Middle College is your high school. We'll talk more about that. I got on rambling because I just was talking to a student that was in this boat. Now, I have had some students apply to out-of-state schools as freshmen, and then the school will come back and say, well, actually, you're not a freshman. You're going to be a transfer student because you have all this credit. Out-of-state schools don't usually have experience with middle colleges. Middle colleges are fairly unique to Michigan. So if they have questions or if they're asking you stuff that you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, direct them to me or give me their contact information and I can give a call and try to just explain the situation. Sometimes they will have you change to a transfer, but they will let you know that, and you should still apply as a freshman always because most schools will understand what you're doing. And especially once we explain middle colleges, they are like, oh yeah, they are a freshman. You're just coming with a bunch of college credit, like a lot of dual enrollment students. So that's the basics there. If you have not retaken the SAT, I really recommend it. It's worth doing that again. Basically, the difference can be a lot more scholarship money, or having that good score can get you into the college that you want. Sometimes maybe your GPA isn't quite there and the SAT can bump it up. Schools are telling us, even if they're test optional and they're not requiring the SAT, and if you send a score, it's not going to discount you. They're not going to say, well, hey, her GPA is great, but her SAT score was bad. We're not taking her. They basically will just throw out an SAT score unless it helps you. So don't be afraid to take it. Don't be afraid to send it to the college you want. It was like that in olden days, back in the 80s and 90s when me and your parents were going away to colleges. So a lot of times the adults in your life may make you think that that's a scary thing. Send it. Even Harvard is saying send it. We're not going to deny you acceptance over your SAT score. It just won't help you. So unless you get a perfect 1600, which I would have read about in the newspaper and on Facebook, if you did, I don't think anybody from our area has done it in a long time, then you should retake it because it can get you a better scholarship opportunity. You have taken more math, English, science, all of that, and you are just a more rounded learner at this point, and just having that experience will help a lot too. And then if you can do a little bit more practice, your score is statistically, like research shows that it goes up, sometimes even 200 points. You would sign up at collegeboard.org or just Google SAT test dates, and it will bring you to the site where you click on the test centers. Probably for most of our students or most of you, the closest test site is it's in Marine City, and I can't remember if it's Cardinal Mooney or actually at Marine City High School. That's usually the closest. If you live up north or out west, sometimes I think there's one in like Bay City that might be a little closer. I'm not sure. It just depends on where you're going, but that's probably the closest. So unfortunately, SC4 doesn't offer that anymore. They used to back when it was the ACT that people were taking. Should you practice? Yes, absolutely. There's a page that has all that stuff. So if you did not use Khan Academy resources the first time around, I definitely recommend doing it this time. And that is listed on our website under current students. I have to scroll a little bit. SAT prep and practice. There's basically a video that walks you through how to use Khan Academy, but that's fairly self-explanatory. I know that you guys know how to operate a website. So if you want help with this, let me know, because there are some cool things that I can point out, and this video does help with that as well. But just get into the Khan Academy and start looking at it, and that's great practice. We are almost there. So again, if you have questions about any of this, contact us. Our emails are on that Google form that you filled out. Hopefully you have all of that. I can also show you on our website that we are just on the main page. So when you go just to Blue Water Middle College .org, all of our information is over here on the left. Tracy Weimer is me. But this is all of us. So if you have questions, reach out to whoever you're comfortable with, and we'll get you the answers. And yeah, it's time to start planning. And it's this is an old holdover from Mr. Spencer. There was a lot that we just covered, and it's all important stuff. And yeah, take the time to do it. It is worth it, I think. So I'll put this link, well, the link is in the chat. So if you still need that, click there and just have it up or send it to yourself or whatever it takes. And then I will also email this along with the video. And please do it by the April 8th deadline so that you're ready by the 11th to register. So I'm going to stop recording.